in. What are we removing initially, John? It's going to be the Nook.
The Nook, once again, I think has been banned out for all 3 of the games we've played into today. I'll actually correct that. Our second one, we did not see it get banned out there, but 2 out of 3 still ain't bad, as we're seeing Nook still be first on the chopping block for attacker bans quite often, especially for teams.
What was it, Sledge Twitch for the second game?
Yeah, it was a weird one for the Soniqs game, so that one threw us off a little bit. But it seems like we're back, for the most part, to normal here. We are going to see an interesting Buck ban come out, what makes perfect sense when we consider the amount of play that can be made against the second floor holds from down below. So definitely quite a bit of use for him. Still an interesting one, though, not one we tend to see all that often. So I think Mirage is reacting to that one, potentially, as we have Valkyrie as the first defender ban, and then our last one coming up right now, it's still going to be on a zombie.
I hate how simple things can be that will make me laugh, like just somebody saying, that's not very pog of you, or something like that. Yeah. And just, the internet's corrupted me as a person, and I need to just go be a monk for like a decade and then come back into society. But either way, I'm going to have some very forward defensive bans, ones that we are obviously all used to when it comes to Siege in its current iteration. So, going to be AVG to start us off for Mirage. Nothing crazy going to be abound here. No Mira in play or anything of the sort. The big one going to be the Frost Mats coming in from Kento, but that's just going to be to try and attempt to catch DZ off in the later parts of this round. They hop inside a study window or something like that and end up losing their ankle. So we'll see if that works out for them.
Away from that, we are going to see usual amount of frost setups coming in from Kento here, trying to figure out what's the best place to place these down. He's got 2 left. He's going to take a gamble on one on the red stairs, maybe hoping that somebody will be paying attention to the banister up on top and not look at the floor, maybe being able to catch out a player from that position. Then we'll see where the third one goes down in just a minute. Aside from that, though, like you said, no huge surprises when it comes to the defensive setup here. Same usual rotations that went up being made. We've got the half wall into study that's been breached as well. Very much a standard hold on the inside of AVG here. It's when the operator selects come in that things get a little bit more interesting. We can finally see that third frost mat going down, thanks to our observer there from Kento as well. Going to be positioned just on the inside of that bathroom window.
Before we get too deep here, I just wanted to highlight some players, especially the likes of Skies, and we kind of touched on earlier on for DarkZero. Skies is actually the 2nd highest rated player in the league as of right now, and that's with Rexon having just played a recent game as well. He's actually at the top of the pile at a 1.3. Skies at a 1.28, but he's actually got the highest cost in the entirety of the game right now, John. 77%. And for those that don't know what cost means, that just means that 77% of the time he is effective in his rounds, which is absurd to actually think about. And speaking of absurdities, oh man, this might be an interesting one.
Big build up here as he walks through, though. There's the reaction, but apparently not enough of one from Mohese. NJR catches Mohese in the corner, knocks him down. First kill of the round goes over towards DZ. And NJR's got something to say. Boo. What?
NJR, Kool-Aid.
Everything you could have said.
Yeah, right. NJR, Kool-Aid played last game, so I don't know why you're going for these Kool-Aid man-esque plays, but it'll work out. It'll pay off for DZ, and they get the lead-off pick and the lead-off kill of Villa.
Nicely done from NJR either way. Good quick correction on that one, as that could have very easily gone against him had Mohese also been aware of that situation. But I think both players were walking in blind to that scenario there, so pretty much a roll of the dice to see who ended up coming out on top. DZ has still committed to the clear amongst the rest of the map for the most part, especially on the first floor here. It looks like they've been able to sweep this up without too much of an issue, and will be clearing out the rest of the second floor momentarily. Already having trophy and statuary fully under their control. Kento will more than likely be the first challenge over here towards the 90 angle. Down the hall from the bookcase angle as well. Kento ready to take the challenge. He sees the nades being strung out. Someone is aware of his potential position up here, and he's going to give it away now with the spam coming in, but it's actually going to end up being Dexter to frag out first, finding Canadian and taking down the Jackal.
Well done. Dexter will be able to continue his rampage, although it is quite quiet at the current moment. This smoke holding up the door, but now they're aware that there's a warden in play, but that isn't going to stop Dexter from going for these big swings. Eclipse will go down on Study, and this has become a one-sided affair. DarkZero attempt to work their way into planes. It's a triple for Dexter. Kento picks up another. Skies fights back, but he's got to find 4. Dexter will be able to light him up. Skies more than likely on death's door here, trying to occupy so many different angles all at a singular time. He'll walk around and end up faltering to Benji instead. That looked like a round for DarkZero if I've ever seen one once they get to the doorstep of the site, but Dexter's ability to make plays and find these big kills halt DarkZero's progression, and they're taken down. Even with that lead-off pick, the round still goes the way of MRG.
Dexter, of course, and a great operator selection for this one, too, considering the amount of smokes that DarkZero wanted to use to play into it here. Pretty much a perfect counter to the death's door push there, and really forced EZ to come up with alternate options that just really weren't present with the limited time they had to work with there. So great plays from Mirage, sets them the right foot forward to start things out here. DarkZero now looking to change things up, of course. We move on to the second round. We are going to see a few flips of operators, most notably Skies, of course, bringing out their Terror drones there on the bottom of the screen, and then NJR now going to take up the Jackal mantle the Canadian was using on the previous round. He's feeling the twitch at the moment, so he's
sick of it. It's only round 2.
Yep, that's it.
He's like, I lose one fight to Dexter, and this is what you make me do. I'm going to bring the F2 in and get the party going with Twitch. But usually the party is in Pamba's category. So we'll see if Pamba can get anything going here for round 2. Obviously, the big spenders, or rather the big considerations for DC that last round would be NJR and Skies. But obviously not able to get too much done, minus that opening pick from NJR secured. So obviously looking to try and get to better straights here in round 2. Mirage have thrown themselves to the northern side of the building. It's going to be a trophy statuary defense with some odds and ends around the map. Mohese currently around red stairs with Dexter on a island over towards AVG. He does have Benji off towards main stairs, but it's going to be difficult to try and assist each other in any considerable way with some of the angles. Obviously, they can just sprint over there and try and get some refrags once those fights are going on, but if it's extremely decisive, it could run into some issues. So we'll have to see how that ends up going on that end of the map. As for the master side, though, Kento with an aggressive peak initially, but will be forced back by the drone.
Ready to take more challenges, too. Boosted forward by the Magnet. Dexter, though, is not longer alone for this world. He's going to be knocked out by NJR. Another nice entry being made here by DarkZero, by NJR specifically, as he's 2 for 2 on that, actually, right now in both rounds. So following the rest of his teammates now to pick up the rest of the squad on Mirage.
And that's the big issue right there that we were talking about with kind of that cross setup that Mirage has. If you end up getting a decisive gunfight from someplace like the balcony, then there's really no opportunity for Mirage to try and get anything back into their own favor. So now Mirage are going to have to deal with this pick yet again here, although last round didn't really seem to be that big of a deal.
Away from that, though, half the round now transpired, and DarkZero still moving very slowly. This is like a DarkZero trademark, though, so no need to react to that just as of yet here. They very much play in this sort of style, wanting to only execute when every single variability has been accounted for. And Kento, well, he's trying to be one of those right now here, as he variably moves between angle to angle, trying to get the better of one of the members of DarkZero. Oh. Meanwhile, though, the second round, the gamble there on the red stairs Frost Trap is going to pay off for Dexter as he manages to get the down against NJR. Unsure if he's got a teammate nearby to potentially assist with that. We're seeing more kills flood out in the meanwhile here, and Kento has found one of them. Canadian, though, with a snipe trade, able to take Kento back down. Leaves Benji all on his lonesome, and yes, NJR did get confirmed, but it's a moot point now as Canadian quickly frags out for a second kill on the round and locks in a first for the game overall.
See, folks, it's not about age. It's about locking in Twitch and then running at your opponent. That's really where you get those kills. Exactly.
Don't you dare bring out that DMR. I think that's our alternate, right? Is it DMR?
Yeah, it's 417. Yeah, okay. Now, listen, the 417 might be, or used to be, a little troll, John. Not as much anymore, because what the big issue used to be is that the thing had no bullets in its magazine. It had like 11 shots. It now has 21. So not only that, but you also have the buff that they did with the soft destruction and other stuff. So it's not as troll as it used to be, but you have access to the F2, so it's a moot point. There you go. That's hey, let's just track the math real quick.
I mean, if you want a worse gun, you can take it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is simple algebra, okay? Not hard to track. It's your X and your Y's, right? As soon as math starts getting letters,
maybe you're just bad at spraying. You know?
Oh, I mean, the F2 is got some pretty serious recoil
kick, you
now.
know?
Yeah, which, I mean, across the board, everything has got some more recoil now, right? But I'd say that quite a few of the professional players have done a pretty bang-up job of getting things on lock. We had some issues inside of like our first week especially, right, for Hyper's sake, as he was spraying wide on quite a few of his engagements. But overall, it seems like the gun change hasn't affected everyone all that much, so...
Absolutely the case, especially with, of course, the gun range being added in there, too. Definitely helping out some of our players with that.
Yeah, we've seen a lot more suppressor play, too, given that fact.
A lot of changes coming in with this patch. If you have stepped away from Siege in the last 6 to 12 months, maybe time to give it a reinstall and give it another try. There was a big patch change up a lot of the meta. We're starting to move away from the previously very nade-heavy, very LMG-heavy meta that was alive for most of the late part of 2021 and 22.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a long-standing thing, and then obviously with the LMGs kind of sprinkled on top of that, which made it to where Siege, obviously still a fun game to play, but not as fun as it could be, and that's why we're so thankful for the changes that Ubisoft implemented with the last big patch here for Brutal Swarm. And speaking of Brutal, this could be quite the engagement here from Mirage. Mohese almost with some solid information there. I thought we could see some aggressive fronts from DZ that could be sussed out via the cardiac sensor, but nothing just yet. About halfway through the round, really it's just the drone game that's plaguing Mirage at the moment.
I say bit of a pre-fire. Actually almost lines up with Kento there, but unfortunately, thankfully, disaster is averted in that situation. But regardless, Mirage wanting to spread themselves out a little bit more now that we've reached that mid and a half point. A few players want to go across the hallway to establish those crosses. Unfortunately, won't be able to go all the way into the depths of living room. As you can see, Canadian positioned in mud. Kento, if he wants to make a play, now is the time to potentially do so, but the moment has passed, unfortunately, as the drone will have coverage for Canadian now, even as he routes back out here. And there we go. Canadian now has the info on Kento. So does he stand his ground, or does he potentially try to wrap away? Well, he's going to stand stand tall. Canadian with the outright initiation against him. Still is not able to control the fray. And Kento, as you can see, still with very low HP. Just barely wins out that fight versus Canadian.
Yeah, just Ash things. Blows the wall open and immediately tries to sprint through and take the fight, but Canadian misses some crucial shots. He needed a singular bullet to take down Kento, but instead the DMR is the one that does the deed. Pambazoo now has to try and get it back for DarkZero after they've lost a few here. Mohese still trying to utilize his cardiac sensor and able to get one after he slips that back in. Pambazoo will actually end up getting gunned down inside of China. It's all left up to NJR, and that's going to be another big round for Mirage. DarkZero not able to find the Jenga piece necessary to knock over the tower.
DarkZero, unfortunately, just kind of falling to pieces there after Canadian goes down. There's no semblance of how to work their way in successfully. And once again, great setup work coming in from Mirage to quickly crunch that out and leave very little chance alive for the DZ play to be successful. We'll, of course, now force away the rotation here for Mirage. They're going to head back upstairs into Aviator Games, give this one another try. This was the one site hold that went successfully for DarkZero, so also where we need to see the most corrections made for Mirage. Let's take another peek, see what exactly they're going to do. Not any immediate changes for the defensive operator lineup here. Still going to be relying on that Frost from Kento. More than likely means that the site setup is going to be pretty similar to what we saw in round one as well. So the adjustments they'll be making will be in the mid-round instead of in the overall setup and operator lineup.
All right, well, back to AVG here for Mirage. DarkZero the last time around was looking for that north to south clear, and they got a majority of it, but the big problem is that Dexter dealt some serious damage to not only their front line coming in from that northern side, but also took down the counter player playing over on the balcony, which made it to where it was a one-sided affair. Mirage only had to deal with DarkZero trying to work their way in through Plane's door on that, bust side, and it was quite easy, especially with Dexter getting so much done there. So DarkZero might try and go about this in a different fashion, minus that north clear. We're probably going to see them try and deal with the site setup in a little bit of a different way. One thing we can already kind of note is they do still have smokes here in the likes of Pambazoo, so still obviously can find some play around that warden, but DarkZero more than likely going to use these in a different way, whether it be for burn or what have you, because they don't want to give Dexter that opportunity.
Definitely do not. And as once again, about 30 seconds have already moved away from the round, waiting to see how Skies is going to potentially line up his play potential with the Gara hook. Starting to work himself over towards the repelled angles on the side, but let's take a little drone with him, and why wouldn't you? Very useful piece of utility. Away from that, though, we are seeing other players on DarkZero start to work their way into the building as well. Here is going to be that process of clearing things out. It looks like it'll be mainly from study side this time, which is not a fight we see often taken anymore by the attackers, and what pulled there twice in a row. Unfortunately, now to get hit by a nade is part of the reason why we don't see attackers go for that side all that often anymore there. Mohese, beautifully done. Just as nice of a response nade coming in from DarkZero, though, so the fight is very much still on. DarkZero at a slight disadvantage now, going down 3-4.
This is what we talk about when we're talking about defensive setups and players being sticks in the mud. Yeah, Mirage, you can sit in sight and just wait for DarkZero to clear out the building and actually go for an execute, or you can rotate around the inside of your site, try and occupy these angles every once once in a while, get some good info, and, oh, I don't know, kill 2 people. That could be a big thing there, and it absolutely will be. What a play from Mohese as he takes down Canadian and Eclipse, 2 of the biggest, actually the 2 biggest pieces of utility that DarkZero have or had at their disposal. Kento is not going to go for the hop, although they did have the man advantage. Probably a solid advisement from MRG. Dexter going to simply walk up red and get himself a kill. Dexter will go down eventually to NJR, though.
Dexter, once again, with that really great timing to be able to move in there, catching a player from DarkZero completely with the back turn as well, so free pickup for him, just unfortunate. And where he goes, and it's oftentimes been the case for quite a few of the start players on Mirage here, both of the impactors, unfortunately, leveling themselves into a tradable position, but their impact is more than enough for the rest of their teammates to quickly close out on the action. Mirage shuts down their second attempt at the AVG hold, definitely making up for the issues on the first try there, and take a pretty dominant lead against DarkZero, now 3-1, heading into the final 2 rounds of the half, and I believe we're going to have a tactical pause triggered by DarkZero here as well.
I was having that sixth sense as well. I figured it was coming in. That was a singular bullet, by the way.
Yep.
Gross.
Casual. Nicely done.
Gross. Disgusting. That was ridiculous. Anyways,
here we gave both of our team's coaches the full time there for the tactical pause, so definitely wanted to make sure that was resolved before we cut them off short or anything. That would not have been fair to our teams, so thank you guys for your patience. We're now back in game, and let's take a look at what Mirage have to offer us for their next statue and trophy defense.
Well, you know, Kento, that's on me for not remembering, because 5-1 at the current moment, top fragging for Mirage.
Yeah, he's been quite the presence for this squad.
Yeah, he really is acting like Kento Raketti right now in the flesh. It's crazy. We have one in NA.
Absolutely the case. And he's not been the only one fragging out too, as you can see.
Gotta grow out the beard, though. Gotta grow out the beard.
Well, we just gotta work on that a little bit more. But yeah, Benji, Mohese, as well as Dexter, also all sitting at 4 kills, 1 below him. So quite a bit of effectiveness coming out from most of the Mirage roster inside of this game. We need to see who from DarkZero is gonna be able to turn up to that. NJR, the only one to match that pace. And that's with 2 entry kills as well to start things off.
No, you're not, Dexter. Stop it.
I think he is.
Oh, no, you're not. Please don't.
There's a default.
Oh, this is going to be so ridiculous. Is he going to go flying out of this?
I mean, he's seen it.
No. Oh, he's not.
No.
Oh,
He was just checking the default.
All right. I think that he was sitting there seeing if DZ was going to respect the camera and do what they're supposed to do, get rid of that, right? Not just go on rappel.
Yeah.
If that guy goes on rappel there, Dexter is flying off the top rope. I can tell you that right now. So Mirage will skimper off back into the depths of the building and await DarkZero. We'll start things off on the south side, at least for NJR's sake. This is where we've seen him get some pretty solid advances. Also, obviously, saw him work his way in towards the basement of his sledge early on, but the Jackal has been getting the deeds done that DarkZero needs for the early game.
Dita has slow rolling one those, but neither Mirage nor DZ are able to force a fight from either side at the beginning. Clip certainly wanting to take one, as we can see quite a few angles being opened up between him and I believe Kento, but Kento yet to take the bait. Now starting to respond to it, going to see if he can get another peek back from his opponent there, and even flirting, of course, with a doorway here. There is a drone on the inside of the master area, so should be able to spot what Kento's getting up to pretty quickly. Panba will have to be much more cognizant of this, however, considering he's way more closer to the danger that potentially can be thrusted at him by the players on DZ, and they're certainly looking to do so. Kento, though, still sticking around, supported by that one magnet. You can see the top left of his crosshair, and a peek directly into him. First kill sunk against Panba, and he's still sticking around for the time being.
Well, Mirage might be putting us all on notice here in this game is Kento, 6-1. They got the leadoff pick yet again here in round 5, and now DarkZero have to try and bounce back with 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining. Saw some solid drone work that they're capable of, given the fact that they still have 6 of those. Will be able to get open the statuary triple here and make the situation a little harsher for Kento on a lot of his angles. Skiles will warm up the Rotero drones and start trying to get rid of some key pieces of utility as well before DarkZero spring 2 and try and get a execute going on.
A little bit quieter on the map, but finally, Mirage able to activate themselves once more. Dexter lining up another mid-round kill. He's been consistent as ever with those so far inside of this game. A massive proponent. The team has been able to stay ahead of the curve past DarkZero here. Another one coming in from Mohese. Everybody getting a piece of the pie now is melted, and Kento shut out another one as well. It'll be a flawless round from Mirage. Might have been a team ace, too. I didn't actually catch if all 5 players picked up kills there, but it certainly looked like it as we close out that round.
What a round for Mirage, and I'd just like to go go back to kind of what I was saying at the beginning of the game. This right here is crunch time for Mirage. You know, it's been a very solid stage for them, but we're over the halfway mark now, though. So we know who is the quality teams inside of NA. And again, Mirage has kind of been on the teeter-totter, right? We really don't know exactly where to place them. Can they go and fight against some of the Titans of North America? Are other teams just kind of falling off and Mirage is on the upswing? Exactly what's happening? Well, I can tell you, at least given the circumstances of what we've seen on this defensive half, Mirage is no slouch. They definitely have some considerable firepower across the board. And to me, I just find it hilarious that all of the players were bouncing back and forth between Dexter and Mohese as to who has the most frag power on this team, and then Kento was just putting everybody in a box. Truly awesome to see, especially for the Mirage organization. I know how difficult times have been for them, just for everything. This team has always been pretty bad at Siege, so it's nice to see them finally have something for all of those struggles.
So now Mirage looking to increase their placing with a big victory here today. He's in that same position. It's going to be Dexter playing here this time around. Canadian also in the area, but doesn't really seem like they want to take the risk on this one. That default cam info just not playing out the way they want it to, so they're going to continue to hold back on that potential play. Won't be able to see it either. This is the last round we could have potentially seen it bust out, so definitely going to be on the attack from this point forward for Mirage. It's also the last hope for DarkZero, of course, to make their own series of impacts on this side. Starting down 5-1, even with the generally defensive-sided nature of this map here, it's still going to be a tough deficit to work your way back from. Just one slipped round going Mirage's way, and you have to win every single round from that point forward. So DZ want to avoid that if they can, and they'll attempt to pick up a second round here, of course, on the kitchen hold for Mirage.
On E1D out from Pambazoo, but nobody capitalizing on anything with that initial one. So more than likely just trying to get control of some portions of the map and forcing Mirage to stick to their angles, making it a little bit easier to achieve that. Now some more Rotero drones out from Eclipse will more than likely be picking up some more pieces on the actual site. But as for Kento's sake, he's going to be over inside of Living Room, holding things down towards the library door. DarkZero, if you've noticed, have not really been bullheadish about getting into the actual building when it comes to the initial parts of the round. They really like to try and stick to this drone game and make sure that they know where Mirage is. The big issue is that they may know where a couple of the members are, but that doesn't mean that they're going to win the gunfights. Perfect example is, well, Canadian from earlier in his gunfight up against, I do believe, Kento in Ivy that he ended up losing, but this time around, the shoe's on the other foot. Kento will go down, and DarkZero get the big pick from the captain.
Melton going to lose the barricade over towards Pantry. That forces him back into the corner of the kitchen to play out a little bit more of a passive angle. Mohese is going to be able to strike first here. Now on the pulse as well, knocking down Eclipse. I believe that dropped the case also. So that's going to be on the ground. I believe that kill might have also happened outside of the building. Through,
he
like,
sprinted out of
laundry door, right? Yeah. So finds that kill there. More likely means Case, of course, is going to go back under the control of DZ pretty quickly, but still, now they're going to have to be careful. And there's the pickup right there. Now they're going to be careful even moving up towards that doorway. This is the problem for DarkZero. They're constantly getting beaten in different parts of the map and having fear thrown at them now when they try to remake those plays. Good news is, look at this lurk now from Dexter. The perfect timing and the snapshot onto the second player. Denies the bicycle take. Leaves it all on to NJR, the lone shining star for DZ. So far in this matchup, now it's the clutch 1v3 fashion, but Mohese will get the better of him, and it's a 5-1 half for Mirage.
I'm going to let that one simmer for a second. That's a 5-1 half for Mirage.
On Villa.
On Villa. Quite interesting, I would say. Yes. Indeed.
Which, like, actually looking at it historically is, like, not that big of a deal because DZ has lost the last 3 times they played Villa.
But, but the big thing is that it is DarkZero.
Yeah, and right? DarkZero does like to play. We've had this problem in the past for DarkZero, though, where they, like, consistently play on maps that, like, they don't appear to be very good at, just looking at the most recent results. Like, Coastline was a very similar map, like, a year or two ago for them as well, where, like, they would always play into it. And I would always say, like, why do they even on a Coastline? Like, they keep losing it. Like, what's going on? They have the reasons, though, for that. And ultimately here in the league as well, could you just kind of be working on it and using this as, like live practice to an extent where they feel like they're very comfortable in this matchup. And, well, in hindsight, that might be a bad play to make, and it worked at the time. So
this is the beauty of this, though. And instead of being like, I don't want to know why they did this, you get to go, Mint, BC, why? Why did you do this? Oh, man. And between those two Galaxy brains, I mean, they probably have some very good reasons as to be
Oh, yeah,
here.
absolutely.
Trust me.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, the more and more that I learned about BC, just like as my Siege career went on, I was like, this guy is so damn smart. Like, Siege does not deserve BC. It's incredible how intelligent that guy is. But either way, we are finally into round 7 here. DarkZero will start things off on their defensive end, and they're going to have a little bit of a roam game going on. Canadian's going to be down on the base floor, going for some pre-fires. Also, been really favoring the suppressors as of late for himself.
Like we talked about before, the suppressors no longer with the massive disadvantage of potentially lowering the damage count, so has become a little bit more of an optimal choice for quite a few players, especially those that are trying to hide their intentions, as Canadian is attempting to do. Now, if once utility pops off, he can still potentially play inside of that without giving himself away, and that'll make his play potential much, much higher here. Skies with himself finding a lineup here over by Trophy and Statuary. All have a potential to play in, but at the same time, Kento is coming towards the crunch. Kento has a flank to work against him, though. Let's be careful of that as Panda finds one. What a reaction from Kento, though. Benji also snagging out another player here. Canadian, though, finally gets an opportunity to strike up on top of the Astro stairs and finds the trade onto Kento.
All right, Troy, we're going to have to see the warpath here. See if he can try and put DZ in the backpack on this defensive side and assist them with some of these aggro looks that we're getting out of Mirage. The War Chief himself still on that main floor. Gonna be looking for some later flanks onto MRG, who still have all of the utility in the world to be able to break down this site. DarkZero, not nearly as much, minus NJR's consideration into this with those toxic babes. Canadian's made his way back towards the top of main stairs, so we'll be able to assist with this study player. But with Mirage having so much time on the clock, they can really drone this out, hunker down, and see how they want to try and dissect this.
Time, though, is starting to get a little bit low. About 2/3 of the way through the round, though. So Mirage is going to have to come up with an option sooner rather than later. And thankfully, it's going to be sooner for their own case. Candela is initially in to make a death's door push, but we don't see them justify the actual play past that point. Gives room for DarkZero to toss in a Toxic Babe and fend off any potential reaction we might have seen later on there from Mirage. Valhese also with the lineup here, but he has to be careful. As you can see with those silhouettes, there is a potential dash that can be made for the players interior to the site. Try and peek that angle. Would be kind of a complex move, though, to get themselves over there, so maybe not as much room for the defenders to play in. Regardless, Eclipse will have to move himself forward, but he'll move right into the path of a Candela, more than likely blinding him out. Nitro is out in the open, but doesn't fully kill Benji. It's enough to scare him off the case, though, but he sets up to frag after the fact, knocking down Eclipse and leaving it all on NJR and Canadian. Canadian still the big player here, in my opinion. He has the flank potential, and indeed he strikes with it, finds Mohese, who was supposed to have Overwatch for this. NJR kills the Insight player. Now the tables have turned, and it's all fallen to Dexter, but he too frags out with one more kill, still to his name. Wants to back up, play this on the audio cue. Malusi will give him away down at the bottom of those stairs. That will prompt Canadian to drop on to the initial counter defuse. Has Dexter heard this? He's got the stun charge to throw in. Got him off of it when he heard the stairway movement. 20 seconds left, 13 seconds to start the counter defusal process. And more than likely pick up this kill along the way. Canadians have enough of these games. He needs to move forward now and find the frag. He's going to get it, but now he's running out of time. He's going to run back. Does he get on it? And indeed he does. DarkZero forge in a second round at the beginning of the second half.
Ice cold the Canadian is as he'll shut down Mirage. Practically single-handedly, John. He was there for every engagement that went down for the entirety of that defensive half, and he went to the four corners of the earth to be able to do it. The north side of the building, the south stairs, taking things in study, getting that big kill on the study balcony. There were so many different things that Canadian was able to muster to make sure that Mirage weren't able to win this. And finally, does it in the clutch. What a player Canadian is. And he'll keep DarkZero alive here and stave off Mirage's chances of getting to that penultimate round.
Nicely done from DarkZero. Really needed a booming start to this half to forge their way back into the game, and indeed, that's exactly what we'll get with a clutch like that out of Canadian. Mirage, though, quickly going to look to respond to that in their own regard, but they'll have to change up the play style a little bit, moving over to the other side of the second floor to attack this one instead, of course, and we're going to see quite a few interesting attacker repicks. Doubling down on the Candelas for Benji after shifting away from the Lion, and we were flashing a Montaigne for a second there on Dexter, but he feels he might be better served going to the Twitch, and generally I would tend to agree.
Yeah, I could definitely see why you would agree with that. You know, Dexter has a lot of firepower, and why would you not want to go with the F2? You know, Monty is quite the considerable operator at the end of the day, but you still have so much potential with that F2 in the right hands, and Dexter is definitely quite capable when it comes to that. So DarkZero, looking for a trophy statuary defense here. They've brought the Frost into play as well, so we'll see if anybody gets nipped in the bud early on here to any of these welcome mats laying around the map. Benji is going to be building things up here on the study side, but it's mostly window play across the board for Mirage as they try and set up some cutoffs for DarkZero's roam game.
Very casual. Being taken by both sides here at the moment. Neither team trying to jump directly into the action. DarkZero especially so, as they've pushed out their aggression, of course, over towards AVG, but as you can tell, are not too keen on holding on to it, backing up from those positions almost instantaneously, as we see Mirage work their way up to the top of the main stairs and get outer study access for themselves here. Candela goes into the fallback. Ultimately, probably a smart move from DarkZero. There's a pretty good chance those players would have gotten overwhelmed by the Candela toss that went in there and the following push that would have come after that. DZ now realizes where the majority of this play is probably going to come from, so they'll begin to set up the rest of their utility. Specifically, you could see NJR going for the setup of the deployable shield there. Just gives these defenders a little bit of a way to lean out in the event we see the usual push come through in Master side as well, and the focus ends up being on study. Or rather, not study, excuse me, statuary.
Well, pretty quiet. Some birds chirping in the background. Really not much else. All of DarkZero seeing what Mirage's next move is going to be as we get updated on Benji's situation. He's actually still in the exact same position that we left him a minute and 45 seconds ago. So you can see the respect from both of these teams going back and forth. Nobody wants to be the one to make the first critical blunder and potentially give the round over. And you really got to be feeling for DarkZero in this instance because eventually they know that Mirage is going to be here. But fortunately enough, Canadian has been so slick on this defensive end. He has been the game changer when it comes down to it. NGR knowing one's upstairs, Skies will get him. He gets gunned down though, and the trade game begins. Mirage 2-3, make it 1-3 with Melted being the lone member to try and pick this one up. Has 40 seconds to try and do so. Has 2 frag grenades as well, but one will get eaten up by the magnet. No real angles being held by DarkZero, although there is quite a few for him to be worried about. Sells another magnet here, so that frag grenade is not going to be very useful, and it's actually going to be NJR to gun him down. DarkZero once again slowing down Mirage's assault and able to get some very serious kills that damage the hull beyond repair.
Very tough sort of trade matrix that was set up there for DarkZero to work past as well if you were on the attacking side of that round. Kind of players just not making the expected plays after like a teammate would go down or something like that. So it was really hard for Mirage to predict where the next peak or play would potentially come from. And as you can tell, struggled greatly with the actual execute, specifically in the statuary, but you of course had the players over in Trophy supporting that quite nicely as well, with NJR making the late pop out for him. That really surprised once again the play for Mirage and allowed for the rest of the team to move out without too many restrictions to shut down the rest of that aggression.
Yeah, absolutely. I think DarkZero, especially on this defensive end, with these 2 rounds, have been putting some pretty considerable effort into it, especially for NJR and Canadian's sake. I've been loving what we've been seeing out of Troy. His positioning across the map has been utterly annoying. I mean, he's so annoying to deal with, especially inside of that last round, right? Mirage thinks that they can simply sneak away over up oh my goodness, not the Aviator stairs, the Astro stairs. There we go. Yeah, but either way, able to just shut that down super quickly by just peeking out of China. He was hiding right on the inside of the door. Nobody drones him out. And to be honest with you, Villa's biggest issue is droning. There's so many areas to sit around this map. There's quite a bit of clutter as well. So having operators like Jackal, like Doke, like Lion are so good for trying to get that clear done at a proper amount of time. And that's kind of the, obstacle that you can run into from an offensive point of view when it comes to situations like that, just letting those roamers slip through the cracks.
All right, alive and well rolling here into round number 9. We do have Canadian being hunted down quite heftily by the drone game over on Mirage, but Mirage's drone game also working on other things too, like knocking out Panda as he's going to fall first off here. The Alibi fails to make impact on this round. As you can see it, they're down in the right side of Study is where that player ends up getting caught out. An early kill found for Mirage, capitalizing on the early aggression from DarkZero. Probably going to call for that to be called back on the next round, so can't really rely on plays like that. But at the same time, you can rely on makeups like this. Canadian, though, being blinded out of Candela, landing directly in front of him. Not even sure he was aware, but still wins out the initial engagement. Now going to be traded, though, by Benji, bringing us down to a 4v3. Still an advantage to Mirage.
What a lackadaisical peak there from Melted. Low-key, he deserved that, because the Candela went off so long ago, and you played that timing so poorly. Either way, Dexter will take down Skies. It's going to be a 4v2 in favor of MRGs. They've finally gotten some wind in their sails. And they're looking to propel themselves through round 9. Eclipse trying to pick up the pieces. He downstairs at Ivy. I do believe he has one over inside of Living, and he does indeed. They'll be playing the bathroom as of now. NJR has actually snuck his way into Mud, so he'll be occupying this window, at least for the current moment. But nobody home for Mirage. Oh, big peek here. Oh, NJR! What a shot! Suppressed SMG-11, and he still lets it sing at a considerable range, finds the head of the ace, and that's not something that you see him pro play that often.
That was like the tail end of the magazine as well. He had maybe another shot or two left in that thing before he was emptied out. Beautifully done. DarkZero continuously finding ways to keep themselves in the round. Hasn't saved their butts yet, but has very much put the fear into Mirage here, and they're thinking twice about this entry. As we see, though, the peak finally comes out from NJR now that he's going to be yellow-pinged, so that'll force him to swing. Finally takes him down and leaves only Eclipse standing alive here for DarkZero in a 1v3 scenario as well, as being deep into a very tricky site to properly tear apart here. He's going to take probably the least expected position, as deep as he can go into Laundry, behind the machines themselves, just waiting for the play to come through. The good news for Mirage, though, is they had plenty of excess time after putting themselves into this position, so more than likely I would have assumed they've been able to move in and drone this out. The reactor drone's still available, but no one has moved past Eclipse's position. Regardless, he will be found out. A nice headshot, though, onto his first target. Kento goes down. Not much he can do to interrupt the plant, but he's still going to try and work towards it as he moves forward here. Has navigated past the plant and tries to go wild in the swing versus Dexter, but finally loses his wits. Dexter will close it down, and that'll put Mirage on the map and match point.
6-2, and I would just like to remind you that ever since Christian Guerra left DarkZero, John, he has not gotten a single win over DZ since that moment. And I believe at this moment in time, it's been over a year since Christian actually ended up moving over to Mirage as their head coach. So, is this it? Does he finally get his pseudo revenge on DarkZero as a head coach? Could be a pretty considerable moment, man. That's super exciting stuff, given those circumstances. So, past that, though, Mirage up 3 rounds after that round dub. Be trying to claim their last one here on the AVG defense that DarkZero is building upon. Gonna have the Mira in play. They'll also have the My Discs along for the Ride Mute as well. Nothing to really point that DarkZero wants to try and stretch this defensive setup thin, minus Canadian do what he does best, and just being a thorn in the side of the offense.
And so DarkZero, with their last opportunity from this point forward to try and course correct. This was the big problem that we mentioned at halftime.
There we go.
With
Now we have the
DarkZero.
extension. Yep. I was wondering where it was.
There we go. With DarkZero falling behind 1-5 at the beginning. Yes, they had 2 amazing rounds to start this half off to bring them back into it, but ultimately they were still, even at that point, 2 rounds behind Mirage. And Mirage, with just that single response, has already put themselves at to the very end of this matchup here now. Just 1 more needed. And they will take the full win versus DarkZero and the full 3 points that'll come along with that. You can take a look at the top of our screen. You can see the current standings. DarkZero in 3rd, Mirage in 6th as well. Mirror window is going to be lost there, by the way. That's what Sam said ooh about, in case you didn't hear it for yourself. Mirage here, though, still very much looking to gain a lot and potentially a few positions in the standings if they can find this win.
That was just big brain from Dexter there. He tosses one of the Twitch drones down Ivy, and it catches the balcony of the 2nd floor, so he's able to just quickly taser open the Mira window, which makes things a little more complicated for DarkZero. They don't have that one-way mirror to play off of with practically infinite information, so they'll have to worry about that. And past that, they're going to have to worry about Mirage trying to take control of astronomy and the entire master side of the map. They've already taken down Pambazoo, and they're taking their sweet time. Melted somehow gotten in towards Concrete. Eclipse gets 1, but where's Mirage? This man needs help. Melted will finally take down Eclipse. DZ, now worse for wear given the situation, and Nitro Cell does not do any damage to the player upstairs. It must have been a quick move there for the Mirage member, as they will stay alive.
And JR going to try to piece this back together here. Things have fallen apart very, very quickly for DarkZero. The site hold targeted first off by Mirage, the extensions for the most part ignored, and now they're really all that's left. Skies as well in a kind of an interesting position considering that he was on the Mirage, still positioned way downstairs at the bottom of Astro stairs, and obviously having to rotate a little bit differently than that now, but we have seen the rest of Mirage continue to move forward here, clearing out the rest of that extension, now ready to move forward, deeper into the site. NJR with a nice dash and pick up here as he takes down Melted. Thankfully, the site being played out into AVG instead of Trophy and Statuary makes this situation a heck of a lot more palatable for DarkZero, as they do still have the extra map control to play with.
The big issue, though, is the time. Mirage can abuse this so heavily, especially with Benji's Candela still in his pocket. DarkZero won't be allowed to occupy a lot of these lanes that could shut down. Mirage pushing in right off rip. Mohese with a beautiful angle discovered on the other end here for the bookshelf. He'll be able to take down NJR. He won't be able to take out Skies, though. He's been so good for DarkZero the whole year, but Dexter knows his foot was already in the grave. He just gives him a good shove, John. Mirage take away Villa 7-3 against DarkZero. Their ticket is not punched yet for the major.
Big week here for Mirage, considering the